Hello and welcome to Digital Marketing Masterclass. Today we have a very special episode. We have Mr. Tom Foster of Foster Web Marketing. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris. Happy to be here. Appreciate it.
This is awesome. This is great. So before the interview, Tom and I were talking about some of the battle scars that we've had of 20 plus years of business ownership, but more importantly, how much the web has changed. It's led him to write a book, and he's going to unpack that today. So, Tom, tell us a little bit about your company, and then also about the book.
Sure, Buster, will you close that door for me? Thanks, Chris. Yeah, a little bit about me. I've been doing this since Al Gore invented the internet. I came from the software business, and that was crushed, and quickly got into building websites. And when I first started doing websites, we had to do them. I was doing everything, coding, designing, and doing everything HTML. And yep. I got immediately overwhelmed because I got into the lawyer niche. I signed up a bunch of lawyers. I think I signed up like 20 in one shot. Jeez. And was overwhelmed with business, which is great on one hand, not so great on the other hand. Yeah. And I had to figure out how to update these websites very quickly because lawyers can be cranky customers. And so I built my own CMS called DSS. That's our proprietary software, Dynamic Self-Syndication, DSS. And because there was no WordPress, there was no off-the-shelf anything back then. So I built DSS using Cold Fusion technology, and that's what exists today. That was 25 years ago. I don't do it anymore. I've got great people that continue to work on it. We're working on an app for it right now, which is pretty exciting. Well, that's how I started, and really I really taught people how to do their own. We would build the website for them, and we still do, and then we would teach them how to update the website and how to be successful on the web. And what I found out after doing this, and still, is all the mistakes that are made. I wrote this book, The 7 Biggest Mistakes that Lawyers Make with Their Web Marketing that cost them millions in cases and clients and profits. I'll talk a little bit about what's in this book. Nice. And of course, you can go to my website and get the book, fosterwebmarketing.com. But one of the biggest things has nothing to do with the website, but is the biggest mistake that everyone makes, which is ignoring their own list. Ignoring their own clients, ignoring their own customers, ignoring everybody that they've worked with, all the prospects. And so that's the number one mistake that everybody makes, is not marketing to their own list. And you can use your website to market to your list. So you add blogs, you add library articles, you add FAQs, and then you email your list with that content. And that is a way that you attract people to your website. And getting traffic to your website is the number one thing. See, people focus mostly on, they want to be on page 1. They want to get traffic. Well, how do you get traffic? People go to the web, people go to Google and Bing, and they do searches. They're asking Google and Bing questions. And you want your website to come up. Hold on a second. Let me shut this down. I'm getting pinged.
I'm getting some sort of ping, yeah.
I know. I'm getting pinged. All of a sudden, it was very quiet until this started. Anyway, so everybody's always like, I want to be on page 1. I want to get found. Well, you got to put stuff on your website to get found. And then you've got to advertise it really, or market it to your own list, which are the people that already know you and love you, in theory, right? And those are the people that are going to come and help drive traffic. So that's number one mistake that people make, the lawyers make, but all businesses make.
Well, let's stay there for a while. So,
Yeah.
what the trap that that I think what happens is that we go and we sell a client, and then we feel like they're already sold, right? And then it's the temptation sometimes, I assume, is that you feel like the value that you can bring to them, or the value in theory that you can get back for them, is already resolved. In other words, let's say hypothetically they're going to spend $5,000 a month, right? You assume that the $5,000 is their cap, so like why keep going back to your base if you've already gotten what you need from them? And I'm not trying to sound overly selfish, because like if you'll hear my podcast over and over again, we talk about bringing value. But
Right.
I think what you're telling me, if I'm hearing correctly, is that when they sign on for a value, they're going to get a certain amount of deliverables. They might get a website. They might get these things. But that's commonly the tip of the iceberg of the value that you can actually bring your own base. But instead, we're probably going out and looking for new scalps to put on the wall, new logos to put on the wall. And like Harvard Business Journal says, it's like 90% easier to upsell your existing clientele than to find new one. You know what I mean? And so is that what you're kind of running into, is like, hey, you know what? So many people are always hunting that they don't even realize, hey, the power's actually in the relationship.
Yeah, 100%, and a lot, and that's actually the last mistake, which is thinking that you're done when your website launches.
Sure.
That you're done, but you're never done. I mean, you're always needing to make changes. You're always needing to do design changes, updates. Whether it's for page speed or whether it's for you got to update it because you're swapping out your staff, or you need to add new content. The point is that you got to keep people engaged, and you're right. I mean, like, it's not a one-time event. You have to constantly communicate, because we all have short-term memory, and unless you are in front of people, and we're constantly getting through email and through text, like my phone's blowing up right now, my email's blowing up. Constantly we're getting fed messages, and you need to be a part of that. And if you're not a part of that, you're going to get overwhelmed by your competition. Yeah. And so you have to constantly be talking to your people and reminding them why they're doing business with you. And of course, the opportunity to upsell them, their opportunity to sell them new offerings, and you need to be constantly coming out with new offerings. That's the other thing too, is coming out with different features, different products for your customers.
Yeah, one of the traps that I see a lot, right, is that we assume too much that our clients or the subscribers that we have or whatever that is, that just because they've been to your website once, that they've heard your entire pitch, your whole value proposition, and all the things that you could possibly offer. It's like we assume too much. But when you start to look at the analytics, and the average person only looks at maybe 1 to 2 pages of your website,
it's true. And
the clients that you've already signed, you think that they come back to your website often, they actually don't. And then what happens, the data starts to ruin this assumption, where there's so much value you can bring to your existing clientele or other subscribers. And so I'm a big Tony Robbins guy, and he kind of says repetition is the mother of skill.
Yep.
So you have this thing where you have, hey, you got to create new content because you got to be new, you got to be fresh, and you got to be a thought leader. But if you keep coming out with new, right, they're not hearing your strongest argument. And that's the other challenge you sort of have. It's like, ironically, if you feel like it's redundant, it's actually probably a good thing, because it'll be stickier if they've heard it twice.
You have to remind them 7 times, over and over again, the same message 7 times. And you have to do it through multiple medias, multiple formats, multiple channels. You want them to hear it through their email. You want to see it on social media. You want to text them. You want to hit them every possible way that you can. And, as marketers, we tend to, we don't want to annoy them, or we don't want to overdo it. I don't think there's such a thing as overdoing it. I mean, like, you can't overdo it, especially these days. And as long as you've got a good message, as long as you've got a good, a landing page, as long as you've got good content going out to people, to your clients, as long as it's good and targeted and focused and people want to receive it, then you've got to keep hitting on it. You're 100%.
Yeah. See, I think you can oversell, but you can never overvalue.
That's
And
true.
I know that sounds very soft, right? But the simple
Well, that's tricky. It's a slippery slope, right?
Yep.
But you've got to find that balance of delivering value without being over salesy. And
Yep.
that's the key of good marketing.
Yep. And so like how it breaks down for us is I'm going to say something that has value. What brings value? Did I learn something? Can I apply it? And will it change my business? So when I know those three things, right, that's when I send it out. So that's what I'm hoping they get as value. The bridge in the middle is, yes, that would bring value. I'd like to act now, but do you or do you not have the time to implement it yourself? If you're going to implement it yourself, please take everything I just taught you and follow it to the letter. But 9 times out of 10, you probably can implement it yourself because you don't even have the time or the expertise or the battle scars that you and I have, Tom, of being in this for 20 years. But like, in my opinion to my clients, if you want to take this for free, it's yours. Go ahead and do it. I just don't think you can.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's definitely that's for sure. Especially my clients that are lawyers. You know, you didn't go to school to be a marketer. You went to school to be a lawyer. Practice law.
Sure.
This is a whole nother skill set. I mean, that is constantly evolving. That is just as challenging and difficult as being a lawyer. And but they think that they can just come in and learn how to do pay-per-click or SEO, and how to write content and how to market themselves. It's very difficult, as you know, Chris.
It's funny too because they bill out at $1,000 an hour, and yet they're going to invest things that are $100 an hour. That would, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's weird how they'll trade their time because they're like, well, $100 an hour is pretty expensive, or $150 an hour is pretty expensive. But I'm like, you bill out at 1,000, so know the value of your own time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, could you learn paid ads? Yeah, but you could also be billing right now.
Yep, exactly. However, I got to say that many of my clients have been very successful doing it on their own. And if they get the right team in place, because a lot of lawyers are natural marketers. They're just naturally good at it by talking about their brand and what they're good at doing. And if they understand how to market what they're good at doing and back it up with testimonials, and my second mistake is not believing in reviews. Or believing that reviews don't matter. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about reviews and how important that is in today's world. Because a lot of my clients and a lot of businesses out there, they have done a great job with getting reviews, but a lot of them haven't, and they haven't embraced it as much as they should. So what is I'm obviously, I do a podcast too, and I'm used to asking the questions, so I'm not used to being on this side of the table.
Well,
but,
I mean,
But reviews, is that the same with you and your clients?
Yep, specifically in local, but also, I have a lot of healthcare clients that I definitely say that's going to be a major factor that you want to do, and that's the place where people probably read the most.
Yeah.
But it's the freshness of your reviews. So
right.
I say that the reviews are like going to the gym. You can't just go on the first day of the month and crank out 4 reviews and not do anything for 30 days.
Exactly. You can't have a review binge.
Exactly. Part of your operations, it should be that systematic requesting of reviews.
That's right.
But then also developing an art and a science of knowing when to ask for a review, because you don't want to ask too early. It gets a little bit, I don't know how to describe it. You kind of earn the right to be heard, and you got to earn the right for a review. And so there is some special sauce in that. But like you said, I agree with you 1,000%. The power is ultimately in the review, and it works if you work it. It's the same thing like going to the gym. You know what I mean? Like, when you first going out and working out is January 1st, you have a New Year's resolution. the first 25 push-ups suck. But you know what? If you do them every day, 25 doesn't feel like 25 anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
it's crazy. And so it's funny. It's like the difference between the people that are crushing it on reviews and the people that aren't, are they're going to the gym every day. And there's a nuance to it. Do you know what I mean? That's from our perspective.
It becomes a process, and you need to make your review, getting reviews a process. And it's not a one-time, like you said, it's not a one-time event. You need to continue to get them, and that's one of the grading factors for local. And so you want to make sure that you have more reviews than your competition, for sure.
Yeah.
And so you need to pay attention to that.
Yep. Now, tactically, so our clients outsource the review process to us, and so we facilitate the review process for them, and we use a bit of technology for that.
Yeah,
But
us too.
one of the things that's important though is that step one, when you ask for a review, you know what's the first thing people say? Like, well, what do you want me to say? If you ask them to be Shakespeare,
Right.
you're going to get a crappy review. And so
Right.
a lot of times what we'll do is we'll say, this is what we believe is true. This is just our opinion from our perspective. If you agree with any of these statements, right? If you agree with any of these statements, if you want to add them into the review, that would be wonderful. Do you know what I mean? So like, so I have a lot of, you're writing your first book. I have a lot of relationships with content marketers. And I know this sounds terrible, and this is sort of the behind the curtain type stuff. Whenever you look at a book and you see that all these awesome thought leaders are like giving you the forward, 9 times out of 10, the people that are willing to give you a forward, the first thing they're going to ask you is, well, what do you want your audience to know? Like, I want to help you. And so you're practically writing that forward yourself. It's just they're slapping their name on it and maybe hyper-personalizing it. I mean, that relationship and that forward in the beginning usually comes down to, they're like, yeah, I would love to help you out. I know you're a smart guy. You're written a book. But give me the right stuff to say. And that's the same exact stuff with reviews.
Yep.
If you don't give them something to chew on, you're going to get reviews that don't bring value either. The number will go up. You might get some SEO juice, but ABC Lawyer, it's a good place. You should try them. Like, that doesn't mean crap.
Right.
You know
You
what I mean?
gotta feed them. You gotta feed them what to say. You're 100% right.
Yeah. And I think people are afraid. They're like, I don't want to put words in their mouth. I'm like, they want the words in their mouth. They don't want to think. Now, if they do want to think, they can just ignore everything you said and they could write whatever from their own experience. That's wonderful. That's ideal. But 9 times out of 10, people that are writing reviews, they want to help you out. You help them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and it makes it easier, and then you get what you want out of it, and what you need, honestly, out of it.
Yep. And you know what they want to do? They want to move on with their day. They want to feel good about celebrating someone that brings value to them. You know what I mean?
Speaking of reviews, I like this Riverside thing for this podcast, which
Yeah.
is, I'm going to check this out.
Oh, it's awesome. So
I'm gonna
what's cool
check
about So Riverside, we're not live, and I might look grainy, you look grainy to me, but what it's doing, it's saving it on our local computer, and then at the end it says file uploaded, and the video will be 4K for the both of us on the other side.
Oh, that's great, because I use,
Yep.
in the world of marketing, I use Zoom for doing them, but I like this much better, this layout.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Okay, so let's move on to the third biggest mistake is irresponsible pay-per-click. So you do pay-per-click for your clients, don't you?
Yeah. We do. We not only do we do paid, we also do a lot of AI-based paid as well.
Okay.
So that's been sort of. So there's some give and take. It's definitely not perfect, but the power of AI allows us to create more computations and use more A/B testing. It's like it's a volume of 10.
Wow.
Yeah, but 1,000%, like the set it and forget it paid ads. Those are the companies that we get, is companies that say they're going to put out this money, somebody set them up, and then it's just running, doing nothing.
Yeah, well, that's what happens with lawyers. I mean, lawyers probably spend the most money. One of the top. I just got some examples here in my book. Let me just talk about them real quick. about some of the cost for pay-per-click. I mean, it used to be back when it first started. I mean, it was like $50 for like for Austin, Texas DUI lawyer. Now you're going to pay upwards of, for these kind of clicks, you're going to pay upwards of $700.
Yep.
For these vanity keywords, we call them, that don't bring you the right kinds of clients that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And so it's really just being smart about your pay-per-click. And once again, you doing it yourself is asinine. That's like me doing my own case.
Yeah, exactly.
That's me being my own lawyer. I mean, like, it's nuts. And so you want to get a guy, you want to get somebody that knows what they're doing.
Yep.
I have a team of people that know. I don't know how to. I wouldn't do my own pay-per-click. I don't know what I'm doing. You probably know better than me about how to do pay-per-click.
I know how to sell pay-per-click.
I hire people to do it. That's the thing. Is I hire people that know it better, and that's what you want to do. Just don't be irresponsible about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that it's an art and a science, and I have people that live and breathe this stuff.
Exactly.
I try to focus on 4 metrics. One is I'm trying to get your cost per click, or your basically how much you pay for ads. I'm always trying to get that lower. What I'm also looking to try to do is raise a couple metrics. I want to raise your impressions. I want to raise your click-through rate, and I'm forgetting the third one, but basically I'm trying to increase your conversions. I'm trying to basically get more leads to convert at a lower price. And if I'm not being able to get more conversions, I'm going to get more brand awareness so that they know your name. I think what happens is a lot of paid ads companies, they get in there, the client doesn't know any better. They're scared of the data, and they wouldn't be able to read it if they could. And because it looks like death by data, your only gauge of success is, am I getting more clients or not? And I'm like, you know what? That right there, like sometimes clients are a lagging indicator, and let me kind of show you how paid ads connects to the rest of the ecosystem. And so that's always important for us.
And the other thing too is that I hire great people. Like, that's my job now. I mean, I used to do it all, but now I've just got great people that do it. And my job is to run this company. That's what I do now.
Yeah.
So the fourth biggest mistake is the wrong Google bait, which is really focusing on adding the wrong kind of content, adding content, for SEO purposes, not for people. People search the web, and that's what you're looking for and you need to make sure that you're adding content to your website that is people search friendly, not search engine friendly. Obviously, it needs to be optimized so it is found, but it needs to answer the questions that the clients are asking or the customers are asking out there. That is the whole point of organic search, which is still dominant. Organic search, and it's long tail. It's all about long tail. And you constantly have to be auditing your content on your website, to get rid of the bottom pages that aren't getting found and make the most of the pages that are getting found. And what questions do your best clients ask? And do you have the content on your website that answers those questions? It's really simple, but it's one of the biggest mistakes that everybody continues to make.
Yeah. I have 2 comments there. The first one that we try to do is something we call quasi, which means questions with answers and simple information.
Yeah,
so
great. FAQs.
One of the things you can do, and very few companies do, is they talk to what I call their sales team, or basically anyone who's speaking with the clients, and say, what are the top 50 questions that you hear on a regular basis? And I want significant content for that, and I want to measure it against my competition. So now when I know what my content is going to be about, I run it through a system that we call PPPO, which basically means pain, promise, proof, and opportunity. And I want that all on one page, because I want you to be able to pain, I want you to be able to empathize. promise. I want to know what your unique selling proposition, what you're bringing to the market. The proof means that this is not my first rodeo, and statistically speaking, we help people, for your case with lawyers, we help people in your predicament, and we win 90% of the cases that we try.
We call that the perfect client exercise and creating the perfect client avatar. Same thing, but same concept, which is you don't want to work for everybody. You don't want to, have everybody come because you can't help everybody and you don't want to. So you think about the perfect client, and we go through this perfect client exercise, which is exactly what, specifically, who are they? And so you create an avatar in your head of who are they and what are their biggest questions, how you can help them no matter what, even if all these other things happen. And what is their pain? What is their fear? What is their concern? What is their desire? What is their opportunity? And that is how you come up and you answer all these questions. And this is once again, it's not a one-time event. You might have more than one avatar. You might have more than one perfect client. It could be many more. And you want to do this exercise over and over again. And this is how you create content for your website. This is how you answer the questions that your perfect client is asking Google and Bing. And that is how you attract them to you and ultimately convert them. So one is making sure that you have the content out there for the search engines to find. Then two, making sure that the landing page that searcher comes to converts them. So a design-friendly landing page, and that means so many things, as you know. Design-friendly means that they're gonna respond quickly to it. I can't tell you, even in today's world, how often you can find a website that doesn't have a phone number, that doesn't have chat, that doesn't have an easy way to contact me, to answer, to help you. It's unbelievable. And that gets me to.
Let me say one last thing on that.
Yeah.
So when I know what the most frequently asked questions are and I answer them really well on my website, I use those same exact questions and I go out into the world and I find the forums where people are asking those in open forums. And so I'll go to websites like Quora. I'll go to things like Yahoo, what used to be called Yahoo Answers. I'll go to Reddit. I'll go to these places where people aren't on my website, but they're asking the same questions. And then I go to those websites and I use the content that I wrote on my own website. And I don't spam those engines, but I answer the questions and I say, for more information, you can come to my website, and I find out more information.
That's great strategy.
Yeah. And so, in the ideal sense, which I don't do, but I'm going to pretend like I do because I'm on a podcast, but the 20% of content, 20% of your energy and time goes into writing content, and 70 to 80 goes into promoting it. You know what I mean?
That's true.
It's very hard to do, but I think that a lot of times we go and we write content, and then we say on to the next, and on to the next, and on to the next, thinking.
Well, you got to get your backlinks. You got to get your backlinks.
Yeah.
That's the other, and I don't have that, but yet I'm glad you brought it up, because that is the other key piece to making sure that you're found organically is backlinks, and having good link. And that's a great strategy. What you just talked about is getting links back to your content from other relevant places, other relevant web pages. And the better that you can get, the better links, the better off you're going to be. And so that's a great strategy, is going out there with the frequently asked questions that you want to have for you. Who else is out there getting this? Who else is getting this traffic? What are their backlinks? And trying to get those as well, and getting better ones. So I'm glad you brought that up. So the other mistake I got here, number 5, is believing your homepage is the most important page on your website. And I mean, Chris, your homepage is one page. It's like the front door of your house. But that is just that's it. I mean, how many pages do you have on your website? You got tens of thousands of pages, right?
I've got a lot.
Yeah, me too. And so do my clients. And so should everybody. It's not just your homepage, but a lot of people, that's all they think about. That's all they look at when they're analyzing it or looking at it. But the reality is that, especially, you and I, well, I don't do this, but have in the past, and certainly my people do, are, when we're looking at Google Analytics, it's homepage might be the most, maybe half of all the traffic, but the rest of the pages are getting the rest of the traffic. And those are more important as a whole than the homepage. But everybody well, I shouldn't say everybody, but many people focus just on the homepage, and that's as far as they go. Big mistake.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I would say that you want to make sure that your homepage, that people can get your value proposition or unique selling proposition right out of the gate in the first 7 to 8 seconds. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. But there's a lot of data that says that people just simply don't scroll. So therefore, you think about everything your company has to offer, and you can't even scroll. You're basically getting a ton of value if they don't scroll. So you're going to have to put that value on other pages.
Homepage is critically important for brand. So if somebody's doing a brand search, right?
Yep.
They're going to come right to you. So if somebody does a search, Foster Web Marketing, homepage, you're right. Better deliver quickly. What is the value? And that is, as a marketer, that's a constant challenge. Are we doing the right thing? Are we saying the right thing? Is this the right thing today, like it was yesterday? And you're constantly updating it and whatnot for brand. But I'm really kind of talking about for all the other traffic and all the other search.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to the homepage. They're going to your FAQ pages, they're going to your library, they're going to your blog pages. And that's what you got to pay attention to, is not just your homepage. And do those other pages convert as well? And so when you're focusing, making sure that your value proposition is on your homepage, which I agree 100% that it needs to be there, but do your other pages have that same kind of level of value? And so a value for conversion, because those other pages need to convert. They just can't just be content with nothing else to convert you.
Yeah. I got time for one more. Give me, what else do you got?
Okay, I got real quick. Number 6 is don't let your website get old. A lot of people build their website and they leave it. You need to update your website like every 2 years at least, because of the changes that Google makes and your design. So you need to make sure that you're updating your code and refreshing your code. And then the last one is number 7, which is tied into it, which is thinking you're done when your website launches.
Yeah.
When you update your website or launch your new website, you think you're done. Nope, you're just getting started, and you got to do everything that we just talked about. Add content, make sure that you're getting backlinks to it, make sure that you got good pay-per-click going on to it, and you need to do everything that you can to attract, convert, and retain your business. So that's it.
Yeah, I love it. Give me 1 second here. I'm just trying to find out I always forget his name. Yeah, Barry Feldman. All right, so I love the things you're sharing here. I think one of the things that's interesting is that there's a guy named Barry Feldman. I read his article on Content Marketing Institute, and he says that your website is the mousetrap and your content is the cheese.
Nice. Right? I like that.
I know it sounds weird, but you got to focus on both. And so I find that you're going to have clients that they want a really, really great website, and they think that if you build it, that they will come, and that's not true.
That is not true.
You also have to have the cheese, too. And what I mean by that is the cheese is what's going to bring the mouse, or basically the client, to the website, to your marketing, and it's going to bring the most value possible. If you focus on one or the other, you're going to miss.
You got to balance it.
Yep. Now, I'm always trying to get a better mousetrap, but I'm also always trying to make sure that the cheese tastes better and better and can be smelled from a mile away.
And that's what we do as marketers, as digital marketers. And it's a constant battle. And that's the great thing about it, is that it's ongoing. It's never ending.
Yeah, this is great. Hey, well, listen, you know what? I'm running out of time here. It's
Well, I
amazing.
appreciate you having me on your little
Yeah,
show here, Chris. It's
yeah,
good to see you again. It was
yeah.
great having you on the World of Marketing. We're getting that podcast out next week. So
Oh,
that's when it's going out, buddy.
that's
And I
great. That's
appreciate
great.
you, and I thank you so much for having me on here.
Yeah, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. So if people do want to find out about you and your organization, how do they find out about you?
Just go to fosterwebmarketing.com, and we help lawyers and doctors, and that's what we do. We have our own proprietary software, so it's not WordPress based. It's something different. It's faster, leaner and meaner, more secure, less plugins, and our website's kick butt. So
That's awesome.
if you're looking for something different,
Yep.
here you go.
That's great. That's great. And to our subscribers, please check back often. We're going to try to bring as much value as possible. We try to put out episodes every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at around 2 o'clock. And if you are new to the show, you can also check out, we've recently created a Facebook group called CMO Marketing Roundtable that I want to encourage you to join. And if there are certain things that you picked up today, I'd love for you to leave them in the comments. Would love to know, hey, of the 7 to 10 things that we went over, what was your favorite one? We look at our comments very seriously, and we hope to bring as much value as possible. So we will see you next time, and thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.